Hi, my lovely sleepy people, and welcome back to Sleepy Stories. This is your quiet place where the day lets go and dreams take over. Tonight, let's begin by softening the body, settling the mind. Take a slow, easy breath in through your nose. Feel the cool air fill your chest, and let it out gently through your mouth. Long breath in, and slow breathe out, releasing any tightness you're holding. Again, long breath in, and a deep breath out, and a long breath in, and a deep breath out. Letting go of the day, letting it drift away like leaves on a stream. Now let your shoulders drop. Imagine them melting down away from your ears. They feel heavy, but loose and completely supported by the bed. Now let your jaw soften. Your tongue rest gently. Any clenching in your face, just feel it melting away. And now your hands, let your fingers loosen. Your palms open. Feel them heavy and resting at peace. You don't need to hold anything right now. You don't need to do anything. Just breathe and be here. Tonight, settle in deeper. Let your body relax. Your breath becomes slow and easy. And imagine a young man named Benjamin. He's strong and adventurous, always ready for the next thrill. He slips into a magical dream, where the fairies and pixies invite him to run wild with them, leaping across sparkling streams and racing through glowing mushroom glades. Now there's nothing left to do, nowhere else to be. Just listen as the tale carries you into freedom, laughter, and gentle rest. Breathe in the cool night air and the scent of the forest, and breathe everything else out. And now we begin.
Thanks, Dad. I let out a long breath as I cuddled up in my bed, the mattress cradling my back like it knew how tired my muscles were. The day had been full, climbing up hills, running long trails, and in the park kicking a ball with my mates until the sun dropped low in the sky. But now the room was dark, and only a thin line of moonlight sneaked past the curtains. I pulled the duvet up to my chest, with my head heavy in the pillow, and I let my breathing slow. I felt myself fidgeting at first and mumbled to myself angrily, "Just stop moving." And eventually, after some time, the last bit of wakefulness slipped away and I fell into the warm, soft dark of sleep. At first there was nothing but a quiet blackness, the kind that feels safe. Suddenly a cool breeze brushed my face, carrying the nice smell of pine needles and something sweet like wild honey. When my eyes opened in the dream, I was standing in a clearing I'd never seen before, surrounded by trees so tall their tops vanished into the night sky. The air felt alive, crisp, and electric, full of tiny sounds, leaves rustling, and distant water trickling, and what sounded like soft giggles floating on the wind. I was barefoot on what seemed like moss. I was wearing some simple trousers and a loose tunic made of soft green leaves. And I was really small. Like really, really small. The grass blades towered over my head like trees, fireflies drifted past at eye level, and glowing like lanterns. Before I could even be surprised, a tiny figure zipped in front of my face. She had bright wings which was shimmering blue with gold colors. A fairy. She hovered, grinning, her voice sounding like a chime of bells. "Benjamin, you're awake. We've been waiting for you. You're one of us now, at least for tonight. Come run with us." More pixies and fairies appeared, some with dragonfly wings, some with butterfly shimmer, all laughing and darting around me. Their eyes sparkling and cheeks flushed with excitement. One pixie, with silver wings, grabbed my hand. "Race you to the stream," he called, and shot forward. I didn't think, I just ran. The moss was springy under my feet, launching me higher than I expected. I leaped over roots that looked like fallen logs, ducked under ferns that arched like green cathedrals. The pixies whooped and cheered, weaving around me, pulling me faster. My legs felt light and strong, and I had endless energy pouring right through me. I jumped a puddle that looked more like a lake, and landed with a soft bounce. But I just kept going, my heart pounding, my lungs full of the cool night air, and laughter bubbling up from somewhere deep inside me. We reached the stream, which to me looked like a wide rushing river. It looked amazing with the water sparkling silver under the moonlight. The fairies didn't hesitate. They skimmed across on lily pads with their wings flashing in front. I followed and took a running leap and landed on a broad leaf that dipped and bobbed. Then I jumped again. The water sprayed cool mist against my face, with a wild roar in my ears. I laughed out loud with pure joy as I made it to the other side. A fairy with lavender wings landed beside me. "You're fast for a big one," she teased, then pointed upward. "Want to fly?" Before I could answer, a small bird, a sparrow with feathers with burnished copper, swooped down and perched on a low branch. It chirped once with a friendly tilting of its head, and the pixies clapped and cheered. "Ride him!" they shouted. I climbed onto its back carefully, with my hands sinking into its warm, soft feathers. The bird fluttered its wings and we lifted. The ground fell away fast. Trees blurred below, and the rivers became silver threads. The forest turned into a dark green sea, lit by fireflies and fairy lights. The wind rushed past my face and tugged at my hair. We soared higher, past the treetops and into the open sky where stars glittered so close I could almost touch them. The moon was huge and silver, bathing everything in light. We circled once, then twice with the pixies flying beside us, in a shimmering cloud laughing and singing. Then the sparrow dipped down, gliding low over a meadow where flowers glowed like lanterns. I leaned forward with my arms out, feeling the weightlessness. The wind sang in my ears and the world spun beneath me, and for once there was no goal. No finish line, just this moment, this rush of pure joy. We landed, and I dismounted into a glade of glowing mushrooms. Hundreds of them, tall as houses to my tiny size. Their caps looking wide and velvety, painted in soft blues, purples and golds that pulsed gently like living lanterns. The air here was thick with the sweet earthy scent of moss and the faint sparkle of magic, with tiny spores drifting like golden dust, catching the moonlight and making everything shimmer. The ground was a thick carpet of clover and spongy green moss that bounced under my bare feet. With every step, it felt cool and springy, and smelling of fresh rain. The pixies didn't wait. The silver-winged boy darted forward, tagged my shoulder with a light touch of his wing. "You're it," he shouted and shot off laughing, his wings flashing with silver streaks. I grinned, breathless, but I ran and gave chase. The mushrooms rose around me like glowing pillars, and I dodged between their thick stems, the caps above shedding soft light that dappled my skin in shifting colors. My feet sank into the moss with every stride, launching me higher than I expected. I leapt over a fallen log and landed with a soft bounce but kept going. The fairies whooped and scattered their wings, buzzing like tiny bells. A fairy with butterfly wings the color of twilight hid behind a mushroom stem, peeking out with a giggle. I lunged, but she darted upwards, spiraling around the cap. I jumped higher than I thought possible and brushed her wingtip with my fingers and tagged her back. She squealed with delight and spun in the air, trailing sparkles behind her. Now she chased me. I dived under a low-hanging cap, the underside soft and velvety like damp silk brushing my hair. Spores puffed around me in a gentle cloud, which was cool and tingling on my skin, and tasting faintly sweet on my tongue when I laughed. I rolled across the moss softly, then sprang up and sprinted toward a cluster of smaller mushrooms that looked like glowing umbrellas. The pixies joined in, some hiding in flower bells that swayed when they giggled, others darting between the toadstool stems, leaving trails of light behind them. One tiny fairy with dragonfly wings zipped past my ear, her laughter a chime that tickled my skin. I spun and tagged her wing, and she looped around me in a victory spiral before darting off again. We played on and on, leaping across mossy bridges, tumbling down gentle slopes. We hid inside hollow mushroom stems where the air was warm and faintly glowing. Every chase felt effortless, with my heart pounding with pure, happy adrenaline. Then the lavender-winged fairy grabbed my hand. "Wait, there's something special," she whispered, her eyes bright with mischief and wonder. "Follow me. You have to see this." She tugged me gently toward the far edge of the glade, where the glowing mushrooms grew thickest. Behind there was a shimmering curtain of hanging vines, each leaf edged in a faint silver light. She parted the greenery like opening a secret door. And beyond was the hidden fairy spring. The water lay in a shallow basin of smooth black stone, glowing from within, with flecks of silver and gold. Tiny rainbow fish no longer than my finger darted beneath the surface, their scales flashing every color of the rainbow in slow, lazy loops. The air around the spring was cool and fresh and seemed scented with wild mint. Droplets clung to the overhanging ferns, catching the light and sparkling like hanging diamonds. The moss framing the spring was extra plush, a deep emerald green color, soft as velvet and dotted with tiny glowing pearls of dew that pulsed faintly in time with the water's gentle ripples. The fairies gathered around the edge, their wings folding quietly and their glow dimming to a soft shimmer. "Touch it," the silver-winged boy said softly, his voice almost reverent. "Feel the magic." I knelt on the moss and dipped my hands in. The water was cool but not cold and almost weightless, sliding over my skin like liquid moonlight. It tingled gently, tiny bubbles of light popping against my palms, sending little sparks of cool energy up to my arms. I cupped my hands and lifted a palmful, and let it spill slowly back. Each drop caught the moonlight as it fell, turning into a tiny comet of silver before splashing back with the softest chime like crystal bells ringing far away. Ripples spread outward in perfect circles, each one carrying a soft glow that lit up the moss and made the rainbow fish dance faster. A blue-winged fairy fluttered down and skimmed her fingers across the surface. "It remembers everything," she whispered. "Every laugh, every wish, and every quiet moment. Dip your face close and listen." Music seemed to be playing under the water, mixed with the whisper of water over the stones and something deeper, like distant laughter and wind chimes carried on the breeze, that seemed to be echoing through the spring. The reflection showed me my wild hair and surrounded by glowing fairies. For a long moment everything was still, perfect and magical. My heartbeat slowed to match the gentle pulse of the spring. The lavender fairies splashed me lightly, cool droplets landing on my arms and face, each one tingling like a tiny kiss of light. I laughed and splashed her back, sending a gentle wave across the pool. The rainbow fish swirled faster, their colors painting rainbows. The pixies joined in, skimming low and dipping their wings, to send tiny sprays of glowing water into the air and laughing as the droplets hung like floating jewels. One by one they settled around the spring's edge, some sitting with feet dangling in the water, others perching on the mossy stones. I lay on my stomach, my chin resting on my hands, staring into the depths below. The water felt alive, cool against my forearms and soothing every tired muscle, washing away the last traces of the day's restlessness, and the minty scent filled my lungs with every breath. The silver-winged boy floated down beside me, his wings humming softly. "This spring is old," he said quietly. "Older than the trees. It holds the quiet magic of the forest, the kind that doesn't shout. And you can stay here for as long as you like." I nodded, my eyes heavy. The fairies began to hum, a low, gentle song that blended with the trickle of the spring, the rustle of leaves overhead and the distant call of night birds. The sound wrapped around me like a blanket. Fireflies drifted closer, landing on the moss and onto the fairies' wings, their golden glow mixing with the spring's silver light. My body felt heavy now, but peaceful, heavy in the best way, like every muscle had finally found its place. The cool mist from the spring kissed my cheeks again and again, and each touch feeling lighter and slower. Then the lavender-winged fairy tugged my sleeve once more. "One last adventure," she said, her voice soft with excitement. "Come and see the glowing vines. They only wake at night." She led me a few steps away, through a narrow gap between two massive toadstools. And there, tucked against a low stone outcrop, was a thick tangle of vines climbing upward, twisting and curling like living ropes toward the dark canopy above. They weren't ordinary vines. They glowed softly with a pale blue and violet light, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat, each throb sending gentle waves of luminescence. Rippling along the length, tiny star-like buds dotted the stems, opening and closing with faint, breathy sighs, releasing a sweet, cool scent into the air. The vines looked alive and warm to the touch, humming faintly when I brushed them. The pixies fluttered up, their wings catching the glow and scattering it like confetti. "Climb!" the silver-winged boy called, already darting up one vine like it was a ladder. "They'll hold you. They like new visitors." I reached out and wrapped my hands around the nearest vine and pulled myself up. The vine seemed to lean toward me, steadying my weight with a gentle flex. The light pulsed brighter under my palms, sending soft tingles up my arms. I climbed higher and higher. The ground fell away quickly. Moss and mushrooms shrank to glowing patches below, and the air grew cooler and fresher. The vines twisted and curled, creating natural handholds and footholds. Some looped into perfect steps, others arched like bridges between the thick stems. The fairies flew alongside, darting between the strands, their wings brushing my face with cool silk gusts. One landed on my shoulder, her tiny hands gripping my tunic, whispering encouragement. Higher still, and the canopy opened above, the stars glittering through gaps in the leaves, the moon pouring silver light down through the vines like a spotlight. I paused on a wide loop where the vine thickened into a natural platform. And from here the forest looked like a dark sea of green, lit by millions of scattered fireflies. Amazingly, the pulsing light beneath my hands seemed to sync with my own heartbeat. Then a blue-winged pixie hovered in front of my face, grinning. "The vines remember every climber," he said. "They carry stories up to the stars." I laughed, but feeling quite tired now and a little breathless, but still I reached out to touch a star-like bud. It opened under my finger, and with a soft pop released a tiny puff of glowing pollen that drifted upwards and joined the sky. The scent was sweeter up here, like vanilla and moonflower. The cool breeze moved through the vines, making them sway gently, rocking me like a cradle high above the world. The silver-winged boy perched beside me on the vine, ready to come down. He asked softly, "Or stay a little longer?" I couldn't help but stay. It was beautiful up here. The vines held me steady as I leaned back, my arms draped over a thick loop with my legs dangling. The fairies curled up nearby, some on the vine, and some just hovering, their glow dimming to match the slow pulse of the plant. The heartbeat of the vine thrummed under my back and my breathing slowed to match it. The stars and the moon now seemed so much closer. My body felt heavy now, but peaceful, like every muscle had finally found its place. The lavender fairy leaned against my arm, her wing brushing my skin. "Rest now, Benjamin," she whispered. "The vines will watch over you." and the forest will hold you. I lay back along the vine, soft as any pillow, and looked up at the stars. I could see fireflies drifting down from above. They landed on my chest. They felt warm and strange, their bodies pulsing with tiny heartbeats. The pixies hummed a low, gentle song that blended with the sigh of the vines, the rustle of leaves, and the distant trickle of the spring far below. My eyes grew heavy, and my breathing slowed. The stars just blurred into a soft silver haze. I felt there was no need to move, and there was no need to climb any higher. Just enjoy this peace and the quiet longing to rest. Sleep came gently, like the last note of a song. No worries waited beyond the trees, only this freedom, this warmth, this gentle dream, which seemed to stretch on forever. And here under the moon, time paused, and let me sleep. Sweet dreams, Benjamin, and sweet dreams to you, dear listener.
you.